everybody, welcome to our next part of our instructional series. And what we're going to talk about today is bucktails. Bucktails account for more muskies caught than any other lure, simply because they're thrown more. You can cover a lot of water and cover it quickly with these. We have many different types and sizes. This one in my hand is a Blue Fox Super Boo Tandem 8 Colorado blades. It's got a single treble on it, and they've got their bell system in it. Makes a cool noise under the water. Very effective bait. You can downsize from here, upsize. That's what's neat about bucktails. There's so many variations in color, size, and blade style. For example, we have a small willow blade. This willow blade, it's typically a deeper running bucktail. A lot of thump in the water. You typically see willow blades on spinner baits. They cut through a lot of weeds and things. But yeah, that's, willow blades are good for running a little slower and deeper. You can still run them pretty fast. It's just a different vibration under the water to attract fish. And from there, we've got really small bucktails. This is another Super Boo. I believe this is a number 5. This is a French blade. Again, it's just a different sound under the water, different profile. The other thing you can do with all of your bucktails is add a trailer. This is like a little shad colored one, crappie colored. It's got a little paddle tail on it. They have worms, grubs. There's all kinds of different things you can do. Or you can simply run it without them. Some bucktails have a tied in treble hook up top, and then the second one in the back. Some of them just have one. Some of them have one up here that's jointed with a split ring. Another style is a fluted Indiana. This is again, the different blades are just for different vibrations and sounds under the water. This one has a single hook, and that allows it to be a little bit more weedless because of how it rides in the water. The other thing too with a single hook is the fish, when you pin it, it can't gain any leverage like it can with a treble hook. Not saying that that's a typical issue, but you can run into that. The other plus is it's usually a lot easier to get a single hook out of a muskie's mouth. So that's your fluted Indiana. Then we have here, this is a Handlebars. I love these bucktails. Handlebars is one of my sponsors, and one of the reasons I like working with them is because of the quality of bucktails that they produce. This one's a bluish color. It's got a little blue and black in it. Very nice flash. It's got the tinsel on it. Single treble hook, bullet weight, double 8s. Just again, a different variation of the blades. A new product that came out from Big Tooth Tackle is their Sound Science series. There's several different series in this lineup, and this one has a Colorado and a French blade. It's definitely a different vibration, something that muskies haven't heard before. I definitely think this is going to put a lot of fish in the boat this season, just because it's something different. One that I'm really excited about, this is the Kramer Brothers Tackle Revolution Bucktail. It's a single blade, but at the same time it's like tandem blades because there's two sides on it. The key with this thing, it is so easy to use, and for beginners this is probably my #1 recommendation at this point for bucktails. And the reason is because of how easy it is to use. A lot of times, no matter how good the bait's made, when you have tandem blades, they don't all the time want to start going. When you start your retrieve, they'll stall, so you've got to either give it a little thump, or when you're in your figure 8 and you're coming around on your hang time on the wide part of the 8 turn, they'll stall out. That can turn a fish off. It doesn't always happen, and it's nothing against any manufacturer. It's just something that commonly happens. But with this bucktail, you don't have that. This thing spins and spins and spins. Kramer Brothers has a video out showing this sitting on the bank. They pull it in the water, boom, starts spinning. You can pretty much slow roll this like you would a spinner bait. This is going to be a game changer, and the amount of water this thing displaces is unreal. So that's probably going to be the first bucktail we're going to demonstrate. Let me pick up my rod here and switch out. I have another Sound Science on here, just in a different color. So we put on the Revolution, and these come in different sizes. This is their smaller size, the number 7. I typically, beginning of the season, like to downsize my baits or go with something, kind of middle of the road. But this thing, it casts like a bullet. I just barely flicked it there, and it's instantly working. You can see how the rod puts a little pressure on it. You can start with several different retrieve options. In the early season, the spring, I typically like to slow it down. The water's still a little cool yet. The fish are still, a little sluggish and inactive. But it's a great bait. And for the ease of use, I mean, look at this. I mean, how slow I'm turning that. I'm just barely pulling it, and the blades are still spinning. And I just stopped it there. I mean, you stop it, go. Stop it, go. This thing just, I don't know how else to describe it other than the blades just never stop spinning. So no matter how big you make your figure 8, outside of dead stopping it, you can slow hang it in the corners. It still spins. It's just an amazing bucktail. And the reason it's going to be so good for newer anglers or even seasoned anglers, I still have issues sometimes in the figure 8. You get a big fish coming in, you get amped up, your adrenaline's running, you make mistakes. But with this, it's almost impossible to make a mistake, especially on the figure 8. You just turn it and keep turning it and keep turning it, and it will just keep spinning. Now, let's say it's summertime, heat of summer, muskies are chasing down baits. So you throw your bucktail and you want to move it. You just start spinning it faster, and you can kind of see there the way that thing's just bulging water. And this is what you're seeing, the water, the way it's bulging up like that. This is what it means when people are talking about bulging blades. It's a very, very effective technique. It mimics, a fish or a small animal just scurrying across the top of the water. You can see that thing just pulling it out of the water there, and it's still spinning. I mean, this thing is just amazing. See, you can bulge it, you can slow roll it. Let's talk about a triggering technique. So you're on your retrieve, just start moving it side to side. That'll trigger a strike typically, lift it up, that creates a little bit more speed. Same thing with, just a short snap. And with this blade set up the way they have this design, your blade doesn't stop spinning, so it's going to keep the fish interested. So let's show that again. You cast it out, you're retrieving, you can go side to side, and you can see it, my line's moving there in the water. You wouldn't think, but that bucktail is actually making several movements. It's moving side to side with you, as you can see there. So that darting side to side, that's typically what a bait fish will do when it's escaping a predator. It'll dart side to side. Same thing you see guys doing in video games all the time. They're running all over the place trying not to get shot. So you can do that. You can do your side to side movements. Like I said, you can bulge it. Sometimes that's good, where you just really crank on it. Or, do a quick lift, rip, almost like you were working rubber. And it speeds it up. It undulates and flutters the tail on it, whether it's marabou or tinsel. And that right there can just be that one little thing that you need to make that fish strike at your bait. So that's a good technique. Another thing I do when I'm coming in and I've got a fish hot on the figure 8, if I'm turning and doing all my rips and it's not striking, sometimes when it gets right in front of it, I'll just stop it. Sometimes that'll get them to go. They'll just hit it. Figure 8. You want to make wide figure 8s. This is where long rods, this is the 8'6" rod. And this is where long rods really come into play and help with that. You can get it out there really wide, bend at your knees. You get a little bit more stability and you can get a little farther away from the boat. But the fish is long, they can't turn on a dime, so you want to kind of get it out there. You want to come down, and when you come up, kind of hang it a little, fast through the straightaway. Up on the corner, fast through the straightaway. You can alternate it too. If they're just going around the 8, do a big oval. Do a big oval, go back into the 8. Do a couple 8s. Go back into a big oval. Give them every opportunity to eat it. If they're still going around, start doing something different, start adding a little, even with a bucktail, especially this one, because of how the blades work. I probably wouldn't recommend this with any other style, but because of how these blades work, add little rips to it like you would a glide bait or a jerk bait. Get the tail fluttering, get that fish ready to eat. Just make them think that they're not going to get that bait. So now let's talk about our larger bucktails. Everybody says big baits equal big fish. That is true. However, a muskie's going to eat what a muskie wants to eat. You've got Muskie Frenzy Lures has come out with the 1010 Apache. These things are awesome. It's a single clevis with 3 blades, and that thing displaces a ton of water. It's a different sound the fish haven't heard, because for the most part in the muskie world there's only been 2 blades, 1 or 2 blades on a bucktail at a time, and now you have 3. And this is an orange and black. I like orange and black. The black and nickel, the silver and black, that's a good color for just about any type of water body. But the Muskie Frenzy, this is the 1010 Apache. It's an amazing bait, moves a lot of water. I didn't bring my big reel with power handle today, so I'm not going to be able to throw these. That, and again, I probably won't move any fish on them this time of year. Could happen because muskies write the rules and we don't always know what they are, but definitely a good bait. He also has different sizes too, like this is the 12. I cannot remember the exact name of what this is called. There's a specific name for it, but it's pretty cool. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the description. This thing moves a ton of water, and again, not a huge issue. There's been a lot of people saying that these blades don't always start every time when you're casting. I've never had that issue, so I can't comment on that. I've never had a problem. Mine always start. Now the big question is color. Everybody always says, well, what's the best color? The best color is typically to match the hatch, and by that, what's your forage base on your body of water? Color, in my opinion, that's usually the last thing on my mind. My first thoughts when I get to a body of water is, where's the fish located? Are they shallow? Are they deep? Are they holding on structure? Where are the fish? So when I find them, that is where I make my decision on what I'm going to throw. And then I go with, how deep will that bait run? What's its, average running depth? I also look at what's the action that it imparts. With a bucktail, it just provides vibration. A jerk bait will give you a dying bait fish look to it. So it's got that dive rise. So that's something, to think about there. And then you've got your glide baits that are kind of a side-to-side swimming action. You've got your rubber baits. So there's all different types of baits, but when it comes to color, like I said, that's typically the last thing on my mind. And that's just because, like I said, where are the fish holding, what's the forage base, and so on from there. Now, that doesn't say that once I figure that out, that color won't play a big factor in it, because color does, and it can, just on the standpoint and sense that when you're throwing, say I'm throwing this bucktail, I'm getting a lot of follows, but they're not eating it. I've downsized, I've upsized, whatever, and they're still not going, but they're still following it. Maybe at that point, that's when you want to start experimenting with your colors. So I've got the exact same bait here, but it's a different color, orange and black. So that's when color comes into play in my mind. Or just based off experience, like on this particular body of water, I know that orange is usually a pretty good color down here. Just based on, experimentation and fishing. A lot of it, it's not an exact science. You're going to have to spend some time on the water to figure out what triggers the fish, what they like, and then go from there. So down here, I know that I'll probably start throwing this orange bucktail a little bit sooner than I will the bluegill. That doesn't mean I won't use it or that it doesn't have a place down here, but I know that a lot of the fish typically go on orange down here. So that's where, my starting point is going to be something with orange in it. So that kind of covers a lot on the bucktails. There's something too to think about when it comes to your bucktails is your gear setup. I like a medium heavy, but this is the 8'6" medium heavy, and it's got a lot of action. You can see up here on the rod tip. It's got a fast action, a lot of backbone. This is actually the same rod that I wrangled in my 57 with, so it'll definitely handle big fish, even the medium heavy. This particular one is rated for 3/4 to 3 ounce baits. I've thrown 5 ounce baits with it. Obviously that's out of the recommended realm, but I've never had any issues. So the main thing, get what you can afford. You don't need $1 million rod and reel setup. The good beginner setup here is just standard 8'6" rod is good for throwing blades. even 8 foot, you know, whatever you're comfortable with. I like the longer rod because it's, especially fishing solo, it gives me more stick to fight the fish with, so I can net it. I can reach out farther from the boat with figure eights and things like that. Good beginner reel. This is a Shimano Cardiff. I like Shimano products. Very high quality, affordable for the most part in certain circumstances. Like the Cardiff here is, you know, less than $200. You've got the Corrado is a good starter reel. For high speed or burning big blades, you know, you've got the Tranks, you got the HG and PG. Power handle, there's all kinds of upgrades you can do. Power handles, that just gives you the reel spool itself will actually be turning more than you're turning the handle, so that's where it comes in with the power, because you're picking up more line with less work on yourself. As far as spooling it, this is Cortland 80-pound master braid in the bronze back. I throw bronze, green, all the colors are good. That's a confidence thing. Some people think, oh my god, in clear water they're going to see that bronze. I've never had an issue. When it comes to leaders, I like with bucktails and different baits like rubber and stuff, I like fluorocarbon. And the reason for that is it gives you a little bit of an invisibility factor. When this gets in the water, and I'll show you real quick, it almost turns invisible to where it's just the blade. So that kind of, if you've got, you know, shy fish, that's a good thing to look at. But muskies have been chasing down baits and eating them with wire leaders for years. They don't care, but it's just that added edge, and if I get a 1% increase in my odds of success, there's nothing wrong with that. So I like the fluorocarbon for my bucktails. This is an 18-inch. Typically I go with a 12-inch on all my baits. However, gave away my last one actually. I had one of my buddies, he didn't have any leaders. We're out fishing, so I gave him a 12-inch because it's usually easier for people to work, especially in the figure eight. I got some more coming in from Muskie leaders, and that's where I get these from Bill Fuller. They're made in Canada. A lot of features. You can check out one of my review videos I did on these, and I'm going to do an updated one on them soon, just to kind of talk about over the last year how they were and how they worked, and they're good, obviously, or I wouldn't continue using them. So yeah, Muskie leader, Cortland line, you know, whatever you can afford rod and reel setup wise. But again, you know, just pick you up a couple bucktails. You know, if you're a new angler, I recommend this Revolution by Kramer Brothers Tackle. I think that's pretty much it as far as bucktails. If you have any questions, if there's something that I didn't cover that you'd like to ask me about, leave it in the comments below. Send me a message, message me on here, message me on Facebook, and go to my website. All the links are in the description. And I thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, and we'll see you in the next one.